She said it the way people say things they already assume are settled. We were standing in my her kitchen, apparently, based on how she moved through it, and she was refilling her coffee without asking, opening the cabinet where I keep the good mugs, the ones I don't put out for every day. She picked a blue one with the white rim. My late husband bought that mug at a farmer's market in Vermont the summer before he got sick. She didn't know that. I didn't say anything. So we were thinking, she said, leaning against my counter. 4th of July at your place this year. It's perfect. You've got the deck, the yard, the extra rooms. My sister's family's coming in from Phoenix. 7 people total. Maybe 8 if my cousin brings her boyfriend. She said it the way you'd say the forecast looks clear, or traffic was light today. A fact. Already done. I nodded slowly. I didn't say yes. She didn't notice the difference. My daughter-in-law's name is Aubrey. She married my son Philip 6 years ago. I wanted to like her. I tried, genuinely, the way you try when someone becomes family and you know that fighting it only makes you the villain. She's not a bad person. I want to be clear about that. She's just the kind of person who looks at a situation and immediately calculates what she can get from it. And she does it so naturally, she probably doesn't even realize she's doing it. What she got from marrying Philip was a mother-in-law with a paid-off 4-bedroom house on a half-acre in central Virginia, 40 minutes from the lake, with a screened-in porch and a kitchen big enough to feed a crowd. She figured that out within the first Thanksgiving. That first Thanksgiving, she brought a store-bought pie and her appetite and made everything else. Turkey, 2 sides of stuffing, mashed potatoes, green bean casserole, cranberry sauce from scratch, dinner rolls I'd started the night before. She ate 2 plates, complimented the rolls once, and spent most of the evening on her phone. By the second Thanksgiving, she brought her mother. By the third, she brought her mother, her sister, and her sister's 2 kids. I kept cooking. That's what I did. That's what I'd done for 31 years as a wife. And I just kept doing it out of muscle memory. Because the table was there and the people were there and someone had to, and it had always been me. Her sister's kids are not well behaved. I say that without judgment, just as a fact, the same way Aubrey states things. They run, they touch things. The younger one went through my bathroom cabinet once, and I found my prescription bottles arranged on the edge of the tub, like he'd been sorting them. He was 7. I told Philip. Philip said kids are curious. Last summer, the 4th of July was at my house. Aubrey had floated the idea in May, and somehow by June it was confirmed in a group text I wasn't part of until she added me to share the address with her sister. My address. To get to my house, I bought 3 cases of sparkling water, 2 cases of beer, a watermelon, 4 pounds of potato salad from the deli because I didn't have time to make it from scratch, hot dogs, hamburgers, buns, condiments, paper plates, because Aubrey had mentioned once that real plates were a lot to wash after a big cookout, chips, 2 kinds of dip, corn on the cob, and a sheet cake from the bakery because her sister's younger one had a birthday that week. Philip grilled. I'll give him that. He stood at the grill for 2 hours and did the meat. But the setup, the prep, the grocery run, the ice, the chairs pulled from the garage, the cooler dragged up from the basement, the tablecloth, the citronella candles so the mosquitoes didn't eat everyone alive, that was me. All of it was me. Aubrey sat on the deck with her sister and her sister's husband, and they drank the beer I bought and talked about a neighborhood they were both thinking about moving to. A nice neighborhood, apparently. I heard the word equity several times. Nobody asked if I needed help. I washed every dish that night, by myself, standing at my sink at 10:15 while the fireworks were still going off somewhere down the road and everyone else had gone to bed in my guest rooms, and I could hear the little one coughing through the wall, and I thought, this is your life, and you're spending it scrubbing mustard off plates for people who didn't say thank you. Not that night, anyway. Her mother did. Aubrey's mother pulled me aside near the end of the evening and said the potato salad was really good and asked where I'd gotten it. When I told her the deli, she looked a little surprised. Oh, she said, I thought you made everything yourself. And then she moved on. That was the compliment, the sum total. I lay in bed that night in my own bed, which felt like a small mercy. And I did the math in my head the way I sometimes do when I can't sleep. The groceries had been $340. The cake was $45. The extra bag of ice I'd run out for at 3 in the afternoon was $6. I hadn't counted the paper towels, the extra toilet paper I'd put out, the hand soap in the guest bathroom I replaced 2 days before. I don't bring this up to make it about money. I bring it up because I'd like you to understand the specific texture of what I'm describing, which is not just emotional labor, but actual labor, actual dollars, actual hours, and the way none of it was ever discussed because it was simply assumed. It was September when Aubrey said the thing about the 4th of July this year, 8 months before the holiday, which should tell you something about the confidence required to plan that far ahead inside someone else's house. I said, which she took as agreement. I went home and I sat in my kitchen, in my actual kitchen, alone, with my coffee in the blue Vermont mug, and I thought for a very long time. I am 64 years old. I retired from teaching high school English 18 months ago after 31 years in the classroom. I know how to read a situation. I know when something is going to keep happening the same way unless someone changes something. I had been telling myself for 3 years that next time I would say something, and next time kept coming, and I kept not saying it, because saying it meant a conversation, and the conversation, and the conversation meant Philip looking tired and disappointed, and Aubrey getting that very particular expression she gets. The one that says you're being difficult without ever using those words. But I had been thinking in the back of my mind about a trip. A friend of mine we taught together for 15 years, and she retired before I did had been telling me for 2 years that I needed to come visit her in Savannah. She moved there after her divorce. She has a little house 3 blocks from the water, and she keeps saying, Harriet, just come, just get on a plane and come, and I keep saying soon, and soon had not arrived. I looked at flights that evening. Round trip to Savannah, departing July 2nd, returning July 7th. 5 nights. The price was reasonable. I stared at the screen for a while. Then I booked it. I didn't announce it. I didn't text the family group chat. I didn't call Philip. I just put in my card number and clicked confirm and watched the confirmation email arrive in my inbox and felt something I hadn't felt in quite a while, which was that I had done something entirely for myself and it was already done. I told my friend the next morning. She sent back 17 exclamation points in a voice memo of herself laughing. That was enough celebration for me. I waited 2 weeks, and then I called Philip on a Sunday afternoon. I wanted to let you know, I said, that I'll be out of town for the 4th this year. I'm going to visit a friend in Savannah. There was a pause. This year, he said. Yes, but Aubrey already. He stopped. I mean, we were kind of planning to. I know, I said. That's why I'm telling you now, so you have plenty of time to make other arrangements. Another pause. Longer. Where are people going to stay, Mom? And there it was. Not have a good trip, Mom. Not that sounds nice. Have fun. The immediate, practical calculation. Where are the people going to stay? Because the people had already been arranged in his mind inside my house. My house was already the venue. He just needed a host to come with it. I'm not sure, I said pleasantly, but you'll figure it out. You always do. I could hear him breathing. I'll let Aubrey know, he said. That would be great, I said. That would be great, I said. We said goodbye. I poured myself a glass of iced tea and sat on my porch and watched the cardinals at the feeder my husband had hung out there 12 years ago, and I felt something that took me a moment to identify. It was calm. Straightforward, uncomplicated calm. Aubrey called the following Thursday. I let it ring. Then I listened to the voicemail. Her voice was careful and measured in the way it gets when she's working very hard not to sound annoyed. She said she'd heard about my trip and she just wanted to touch base and maybe talk through some options because her sister had already bought plane tickets. She said the word already twice in 30 seconds. She said she hoped we could figure something out. I texted back, I understand, but I'll be away. I'm sure you'll find a great solution. Have a wonderful 4th. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again, then nothing. My son called again that weekend. Then nothing. My son called again that weekend. This time he was less careful. He said he felt like I was being inflexible. He said the holiday had always been at my house. He said, and this is the part I keep returning to, the part I've turned over in my mind like a stone. He said that his sister's family had a small place and Aubrey's sister couldn't really afford a vacation rental for 8 people, and it would just be so much easier if I was there. Easier for whom? I did not ask. It was not a real question. I said, Philip, I have been hosting every major holiday at this house since your father passed. I am not hosting this summer. I'm taking a trip. I love you. He said, yeah. Okay, Mom. He did not say he loved me back before he hung up. That stung, if I'm being honest. He's my son. It stung. I cleaned out the guest rooms. I'd had a bad habit of leaving extra blankets in the closets year-round because someone was always coming. I washed everything and folded it and put it away properly. I moved a small armchair back from the corner of the larger guest room where I'd put it to make space for an air mattress. I put the air mattress in the garage. I thought about that for a moment when I did it. The air mattress going back into the garage, and I thought, well, my friend picked me up from the Savannah airport with a bottle of rosé and a tote bag and a hand-lettered sign that said Harriet, finally, and I laughed harder than I'd laughed in months. We ate dinner that first night at a restaurant on the river. Shrimp and grits, which I'd never had properly before, and cold white wine, and she talked and I talked, and we didn't run out of things to say for 3 hours. The waiter refilled my water glass without being asked. That sounds like a small thing. It wasn't a small thing. I found out what was happening at my house through my daughter. She's not involved in any of this. She lives in Portland. She has her own life. She and Philip love each other, but they're not close the way some siblings are. But she'd heard from Philip that Aubrey's family was trying to figure out the fourth, and my daughter, who has always been more direct than her brother, texted me from Portland on the evening of July 3rd. Mom, I just talked to Philip. I'm dying, tell me everything. I was sitting on my friend's porch by this point, a little sunburned, a little wine warm, watching the Spanish moss go still in the evening air. I called my daughter, and I told her the whole thing, and she was quiet for a moment, and then she said, Mom, they tried to rent a vacation house, and everything in a 100-mile radius was booked. Aubrey's sister is staying at a Residence Inn with her kids. The conference room situation. She started laughing. They're doing a cookout in the hotel parking lot. Philip went and bought a portable grill. I didn't laugh. Or I tried not to. I was not laughing at my son buying a grill in a parking lot. I want to be clear, but there was something, some small compressed thing in my chest that loosened. Is everyone okay? I asked. Everyone is fine, Mom. They're annoyed, but they're fine. The kids apparently think the hotel pool is the greatest thing that's ever happened to them. Good, I said. That's good. You should have done this years ago, she said. I thought about that for a while after I hung up. She's right, I think. But I also think I wasn't ready years ago. I think you have to arrive somewhere first before you can choose to leave. My friend had gone inside to get more ice, and when she came back, she found me looking out at the street, quiet, and she set the ice down and looked at me and said, You okay? Yeah, I said. I'm really okay. Yeah, I said. I'm really okay. And I was. I genuinely was. I flew home on July 7th. My house was exactly as I'd left it. The cardamals were at the feeder. The Vermont mug was in the cabinet where I keep it. Nothing had been moved, because no one had been inside. Philip called 3 days later. He was back to being careful, the way he gets when he wants to smooth something over. He said he hoped my trip was good. I told him it was wonderful. He said, Aubrey's sister had a decent time, actually. The kids loved the pool. I said that sounded nice. We talked for a little while about other things, easy things. Before we hung up, he said, Next year we should actually plan ahead. I said, yes, we should. I meant something different by it than he did, I think. Eventually, he'll understand that. I have been thinking a lot lately about the particular freedom of having done the thing. Not planning to do the thing. Not telling yourself that next time you'll do the thing. Actually having done it, having it be over and real and in the past where no one can take it back. My friend in Savannah has already started talking about spring. She wants to show me the azaleas. She says they're extraordinary in March. I told her I'd look at flights. I didn't say I'd think about it. I said I'd look at flights. That's the difference. That's the whole thing, right there. There's a moment, somewhere in your 60s, if you're paying attention, when you realize that the time you've been saving up the time you've kept setting aside for yourself and then spending on everyone else doesn't automatically come back. Nobody refunds it. Nobody hands you the receipt and says, Here, you've paid enough, now it's yours. You have to take it. You have to book the flight and let the phone ring and find a restaurant on a river where someone refills your water glass and stay long enough to remember that you are an actual person with preferences and pleasures and a finite number of summers left. I am 64. My husband has been gone for 9 years. I spent the first 3 of those years keeping everything exactly as it was because movement felt like betrayal. I spent the next 3 trying to figure out who I was without him. I spent the last 3, apparently, being a holiday venue. I think I'm done with that chapter now. The blue mug is in the cabinet. My passport renewed last February because I had a feeling is in the drawer of my bedside table. My friend's voice is still in my phone. That voice memo she sent when I told her about the flight, her laughing so hard at the news that I was finally coming. I've listened to it 3 times. Every time, I smile. I've been thinking about what it actually takes to change a pattern that's been running for years. It's not one big dramatic moment. It's not a confrontation where you finally say everything you should have said. It's quieter than that. It's booking a flight on a Tuesday night while everyone else assumes tomorrow will look exactly like yesterday. Aubrey never set out to take advantage of me. I believe that honestly. She looked at a situation, a house with space, a woman who always said yes, a holiday that needed a location, and she did what people do when no one has ever pushed back. She kept going. That's not cruelty. That's just what happens when kindness gets mistaken for unlimited availability. The mistake wasn't hers alone. I made it too. Every time I pulled the cooler up from the basement without being asked, every time I ran out for more ice at 3 in the afternoon, every time I stayed at the sink until 10 o'clock while everyone else slept in my guest rooms, I taught people what to expect from me. And then I was surprised they expected it. That's the part I had to sit with. Not anger at Aubrey, not frustration with Philip, but the honest reckoning with my own role in building the thing I was exhausted by. I kept saying yes because saying no felt like failing at something. At family, at being the kind of mother and mother-in-law who holds things together. But somewhere along the way, holding things together became the only thing I was. Not a person with a passport and a friend in Savannah and shrimp and grits she'd never tried properly. Just the venue. Just the logistics. What I understand now, and I think this is the thing we're saying clearly, is that the people who love you don't actually need you to disappear into service to prove it. Philip loves me. I know he does. The fact that he's been able to assume I would always host doesn't mean he doesn't love me. It means he stopped seeing me as someone with a choice, and I let that happen. The work going forward, for both of us, is that he has to start seeing it again, and I have to keep showing him it's there. The cookout in the hotel parking lot wasn't a punishment I arranged. It was just what happened when the thing everyone had been outsourcing finally wasn't available. They managed. The kids loved the pool. Philip bought a portable grill and figured it out. That's the part that matters most to me. Not that they struggled, but that they discovered they didn't have to struggle all that much. They were capable the whole time. So was I, of something different. My friend sent me a photo last week. The azaleas in Savannah are starting to come in, she said. March is going to be something. I've already looked at flights.